Welcome to Built to Win, the podcast created to help you level up your business game by developing a success mindset made for the long run. In this episode, Rejection Proof, learn how to ditch the fear of being rejected. Neora's co-founder and chief marketing officer, Amber Olson Rourke, sits down with Susie Moore, a world-renowned life coach, author, and host of the top-rated Apple podcast, Let It Be Easy, to talk about rejection. While many people fear rejection, Susie explains it's actually an incredible gateway to growth and success. So listen in to learn how you can change the way you perceive rejection and use it as another tool in your success toolbox.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Built to Win. We are excited today. This is the first time we're actually going to have a guest onto the podcast. So I'm excited because this guest is somebody I've actually known for quite a while. We were just chatting before this, and when her and I met, I had one daughter. I now have three, and she was living in New York City, and she was really focused on telling people about the power of having a side hustle, side gig. And that's how we originally connected. Since then, she's moved to Miami and then really focused on her content on helping people just evolve into their best selves in multiple areas of their life. And so I'm excited to catch up with her today here for her to help give some insights on some of the big topics that we've been talking about lately, which is about really how to get past those limiting thoughts, being afraid of failure, all of those things that, it sounds good, but it's hard to do in practice. So we want to get into the tactical to do that. And I have seen her live that out throughout her journey, throughout her career. And she just keeps tackling bigger and bigger things. So please welcome Miss Susie Moore. She has a top-rated Apple podcast called Let It Be Easy, which, by the way, absolutely love that saying. That's also the title of one of her books. She has been seen on so many places: Today Show, Good Morning America, Dr. Oz, Business Insider, Forbes, Oprah, Wall Street Journal, Cosmopolitan, Marie Claire, you name it, she's been there. And she's done all of that herself. She is a self-starter. She has an idea. She executes on an idea. So Susie, welcome. I'm so excited for this.
Amber, congratulations on Built to Win. I'm thrilled to chat with you. You know I love you. I love this topic. There is nowhere I would rather be and no one I would rather be with right now. Thank you.
Oh, well, I'm so excited. This is going to be like a party, a reunion and a party all together.
Yes.
And I always just love your energy. I love your outlook on life. And I think you and I really connect on seeing things a lot the same way. And so, I love just how you audaciously go after your goals and you're just unapologetic about what you're going for and you make it happen. So I love that about you. I kind of want to start in a topic we've been talking about here a lot, which is just that journey, because I truly believe anything that you achieve is a journey and rejection is a part of that journey. So today's episode is all about becoming rejection proof. And I always think of it as that, successful people are people who just let rejection be a part of their story, where others, they stop the story at the rejection. It's end of story. The rejection happened and that's the end of story. There is no actual story of success that rejection's not a part of. There's no option C, just not have rejection. Unfortunately, that's not an option on the check boxes. So,
and yes, and Amber, nor should it be that way, right? I mean,
right.
When you think about it, if everyone just got every single thing, every single day, every single moment, how would we reward ourselves? What would be worth having? What would we be celebrating? I mean, I think that rejection as part of the human experience is appropriate. It's natural. It will forever be there. So when you have a relationship with it, that doesn't define you, that doesn't allow you to make rejection part of your identity, but it's something that you can dance with and look at from different fun angles. I actually even like to make it a game.
Oh, I love that. So tell me more about that, because I think you're right. Yeah. It's about how your relationship with rejection and how you define that. And it is a choice, right? We might have a natural human instinct to it, but there's things that you can do to help you be more rejection proof. What does that look like for you and how do you kind of make it a game? I love that. Tell me more about that.
Yeah. I think, understanding why we're so afraid of being rejected is part of it. If you understand human conditioning and how, a couple of 100,000 years ago, if
Right.
we were rejected from the tribe, right, if we were rejected from our community, it meant almost certain death, right? We would
Right.
be kicked out. We wouldn't be provided for. There was safety and strength in numbers. Interestingly, we haven't progressed as much as you might think when it comes to mentally dealing with that rejection. It
Those
can,
natural instincts that you kind of just have without really
Mhm.
thinking.
Yes, it can feel like life and death, right? Even though we know it's not, our
Yeah.
logical mind knows it's not, it can still feel, we get those same physiological feelings. We can start to sweat. We can feel
Right.
like dry mouth. We can feel like heart beating. It can feel like rejection is this very serious, very dangerous thing. And when we become more conscious, right, we take a breath, we look at reality, right? As human beings, we're so lucky that we get to do this. No other animals can do this, right? Just us. And we understand that rejection is part of the story. Like you said, it's not the whole story. It's always going to be part of your story if you're going for it. And then looking at it through a lens of, yes, this is to be expected. Like, I'm going to receive some disappointments. I think that when you have a relationship with something that's always going to be a part of your experience, I mean, part of your experience if you're a high achiever, if you're someone who
Right.
has dreams. I mean, if you want to never be rejected, fantastic, sit on your sofa forever with the curtains drawn, eating Doritos. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to be safe there, but that will
Yes.
be your life. So I think to myself, so much of success in life is volume.
Hmm.
It's, someone doesn't create a podcast, have 2 episodes and go, why aren't I a billionaire yet? Right. Or
Which is so crazy you say that, because in starting this podcast, we did research and it's like the average person doesn't make it to creating 10. Like most podcasts end before 10 because of
yes.
that, what you said. It's not the instant like, oh, not everybody is this as a fan, step one out of the gate. I must not be good enough. I'm going to quit. Like it's crazy.
See, and that's the thing. And I find this such good news, Amber, right? Because if success is so much part of it is actually just staying put, right? Perseverance,
Right.
sticking with it. Very few people are willing to do this, which is exceptional news for those of us who are. Right? I mean, I've had the pleasure of interviewing incredible people, reading their books, studying biographies, and when you see the backstory of any success, maybe it's an athlete or a CEO, someone who's even in the entertainment industry, they were rejected, just like anybody else. But the way that I think about it, almost in my mind, is that success and failure are the same road. Success is
Right.
just further down that road. Right.
Yes.
It's the same road. We're all
It
on
can
it. We're
look
all
and
just
feel the exact same as you're traversing it. And then
yes. Yes.
some
But
people stop and like I always use the analogy of an elevator, like you're going up the elevator. Some
hmm
people decide to get off and you just
yeah.
keep going. You're ready. You're willing to ride it all the way,
Yes.
till you get to the top. But a lot of people make the decision not to. And like you said, that it's good news. I think it's also empowering that that option is available to everyone. It's not based on a skill set. It's not
No.
like this born thing or you don't have this degree, you don't have that. Like that choice is available to all of us.
Oh, and I think it's almost in a way some of the most like beautiful news to receive, that say there are two people who are going for a similar goal,
Right.
and just say one has more natural talent or skill in a certain area, but when it comes to like their sensitivity or like living in their ego, and by the way, that is the ego is afraid to be criticized and rejected. It's making it about us, not about our purpose, not about the bigger
Yes.
picture. So if there's one person who's like living more in their ego, living more in sensitivity, living more afraid, right, and acting on that fear versus being able to maybe still take action anyway, versus someone who's perhaps less skilled, less talented, less qualified, less experienced, but they have this relationship where it's okay. Maybe I get an unwanted result, which is what I call failure, just an unwanted result.
Yeah. Love
You
that. Change
you
the
keep
terminology. Yeah.
yeah, our words are powerful. Like,
Yes.
that wasn't the exact result. Ah, okay, so what's next? Let's go. It's no matter what natural advantages you might have, better to be the person who's got this great relationship with rejection. I think that you can be this unstoppable force if you frankly, you can become a bit lighter about it. You don't make your whole identity based on how the world treated you today or the results that you got today or the thing that happened or didn't happen. It's not just this day. It's not just this month. It's not just this year. Like, let's remember that we're here to make a contribution. There's going to be ups and downs in anyone's life, in anyone's business, in anyone's day to day. How are you just weathering those? How are you adding a dose of perspective? Can you even enjoy can you even enjoy the rejections you receive or enjoy the criticism or enjoy the unwanted results by mining something from it or being able to still congratulate yourself for the fact that, you know what, tomorrow I'm back at this. Tomorrow I'm back at this. And know
Yes.
that, like, no matter what, whatever is happening in the external world, which we can't control a lot of the time, inside of you, it's you can bring yourself back to this place of steadiness. You can remember that you're worthy no matter what, and whatever happens, whatever results happen, that your worthiness is fixed. And so
Right.
what you're going for or not going for, really, that's up to us. And I think we've got the opportunity of a lifetime right now, Amber. Has there ever been a better time to be alive than 2024? What we have access to, what we can do, who we can reach. I mean, it's never been easier. It's never been more fun. And I think if I'm going to sit worried about, someone might say no to me, I'm missing the point of my life.
Right.
I'm
Yes.
missing-
Yeah. Yes. I love that you
Mhm.
said that about just the time that we sit in. And I truly believe that, there's
Mhm.
this platform now for so many people to get their voice heard, to get their message out there. And what's been really interesting, I think, for a long time, they thought that when that was fixed, like when there was this accessibility, there would be so much more people rising to that occasion. Now that
Yeah.
it's not all of this, you have to like be on national television to have a voice. And
Yeah.
it's stunning still that so many people don't fully step into that, because that same includes all of those setbacks and rejection. If it was just the platform, it's just the information, where people would do it, right? And so
Mhm.
I think there is such an opportunity, and if people really lean into that, there's a lot for the taking. So, what do you do, like on a practical basis?
Mhm.
I love how you said become lighter about it. I love how you
Mhm.
talk about that, but for a lot of people, it's like they feel it and they don't even like know where to go from that. Like they just
Yeah.
feel that rejection and
Mhm.
it feels all consuming. And like, what can they do in that moment? Is there anything that you
Yes.
found that helps you in those
Yes.
times?
Yes. If if I were to put it simply, the
Yeah.
way to look at an unwanted interaction, an unwanted answer, an unwanted encounter, say we define it as rejection. Say I put myself forward for something, or I ask someone to work with me, or I make an offer and the person says no. If we could step back just for a second, right? Almost observe it from a disassociated place, like as if it's happening to someone else. This happens every day
Hmm.
to almost everybody, right? This is a natural, common, absolutely appropriate thing that happens, right? Day to day, everywhere. The yes or the no, the perceived rejection, or even the perceived success, that isn't what's upsetting us, right? We think, that person said no to me. Now I feel bad, right? This
Hmm.
thing happened. There's this external trigger. Something happened, and now I just want to sit on my sofa and hide and cry or whatever we do.
Yeah.
A- And what I've learned is that it's never the thing, the encounter, the person, the situation. It's what we make it mean. Right. So
Right.
and as human beings, we are meaning making like individuals. It's how our brains work. We assign meaning. We think this is good, this is bad, this is serious, this is dramatic. This means that I've screwed up for the rest of my life. We're very quick to go there. But I think, okay, so someone said no to me today. Okay, what does that mean? It could mean I'm a failure. No one loves me. I knew that my dad was right way back when. Again, this isn't always conscious, right? And then we're like, I may as well give up. It's so easy to just start going into that spiral versus thinking, oh, sounds like it's not the right time.
Right.
Or, okay, this is interesting. The last 3 times I've gone for it this way haven't been as effective as when I used to do it that way. Like,
Right. There's always the lessons, right?
always. So it's like, why are we so quick to attach a dramatic meaning to something that could perhaps be pretty neutral, not about us at all? Right.
Right.
When you think about it, it's so easy to go, oh, it's because I. Well, who knows what someone's doing, what's going on in their lives? Like we don't know what they're dealing with in this moment. We
Right.
never see a full picture. So what are we making it mean? Something happens, right? Then there's the story, right? It's like there's an event and then there's an interpretation. So I think if I'm suffering, if I'm feeling negative emotion, my interpretation needs to be looked at.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always another interpretation. And I found the other interpretations are almost always more accurate than
Right.
my ego brain would have me believe. So,
It's almost like asking yourself, what else could this actually be? What else could it
yes,
actually be? Because sometimes you can't tell yourself this is wrong yet. But you can say, well, but what else could it possibly be? And there's
yeah,
probably
take
a longer.
take a breath. Yeah, take a breath. I had in my group, in my community, we did a rejection challenge. I said you have to
I
get
love that.
10 rejections in 7 days. And I'm like, if you get a win, that doesn't count. It has to be 10 rejections. Whoever gets a 10 first gets a prize. Right? Like 10 rejections. Can you imagine? Can you guess actually, Amber, what happened when people started going on this rejection challenge, like really throwing themselves at it?
That's a good question. I would actually guess that they started to get more wins because they weren't operating in the fear zone.
And they kind of didn't care because they had to win at the challenge, right? So
Yeah.
the rejection suddenly had less meaning, right?
Yeah.
Less of a personal story. And it's so fascinating how people are like, oh my God, my neighbor said yes. Oh my God, my coworker said yes. Oh my
Right.
God. And I'm like, isn't it funny? The thing and the thing that costs us so much, right?
Right.
That holds us back. I love to ask, what is your fear of rejection costing you? Like
Yeah.
if it didn't exist, say magically there was a wand, you couldn't feel it for 24 hours, what would you do? Everyone knows exactly what they would start doing.
Right. It's that opportunity cost, right? That you're
Yes,
missing out on because
yes,
you're letting that opportunity go.
yes. And then and then so, looking at this challenge, seeing all these wins, which is so fun, right?
Yeah.
I think, I wonder if, and it's a good question, I wonder if the rejection is the thing, or or what really we're fearing is how to regulate our emotions to accept ourselves when we're rejected.
Mm-hmm. I
Because
totally. Yes.
yes, and so that's where attributing meaning comes in. And I joke a lot, like I've been married twice, and I introduced myself to both of my husbands. Like coming to New York when I was 25, I came to New York with nothing, no connections, and I was just out there getting coffees, way more no's than yes, but interestingly, like that ratio, I find doesn't really change too much, right? There's always going to be a lot of no's that we receive. So the more no's, the more yes. This is why success is volume, volume. I also am a fan of volume, generally speaking, too, because it allows you to feel less attached to any one
Mm-hmm.
thing, and you've got a lot of
Yes.
things going for you. So there can't be meaning on one deep, like this one person, this lady has to
Yes.
accept me, so I think, hey, it's not just this one lady. There's a huge supply out there. Like God is generous. Like there is abundance in this world. So why would I think small? Why would I limit myself? And why can't I have a bit more of a sense of humor about this, Amber? I
Right.
think I think when we're attaching meaning that's giving negative emotion, it's great to look at it and to see what else could be true.
I love that. And I love the challenge. So I would love everybody to do that challenge. Like that is such a great challenge. Get those 10 rejections, those 10 no's. It was we were talking in a few podcasts ago, and I said one of the ways to move, building confidence is do things that scare you to prove to yourself that you can do them, right? Because it's like
Oh,
once you live through that and you're able to push through that initial kind of pushback that you give yourself and it's like a learned skill, right? And so it's the same kind of thing. You can teach, you can rewire that natural instinct to be more prone to push through, to keep going, to not attach the meaning. So I love that. I love like practical things that people can do.
yeah.
And having the, like you talked about, confidence where you aren't assigning all of your worth. And I do think it's the emotion that people have when they get rejected. Somebody says no to them that people struggle with. And that usually comes from, a whole host of other thoughts and
Mhm.
experiences they have. And so are there things that you have done? I know you talk a lot about confidence and
Mhm.
building that confidence. What are things that you practically give to people who are struggling with that? They have a big dream, they have good ideas, they have
Yeah.
the right instincts, they have, the talent, but that confidence is lacking in
Yeah.
taking those steps.
Mm. I think more good news. Like, this is very good news. Confidence. I think often we think that it's fixed, right?
Right.
So it's like you're tall, you've got blue eyes, you XYZ, whatever it may be, like something genetic that's fixed. Oh, that person's confident. Not so. Right.
No.
Confidence it's a muscle like anything else. And the way that I define it is it's simply a willingness to be uncomfortable.
Right. Yes.
Most people just aren't willing, right? But
Yeah.
the wonderful part here is anyone can be willing to be uncomfortable. We're either choosing it or we're not. We're staying where we are. And I think, you've got 3 kids, right? So think
Yeah.
about like them going onto a diving board, right? To jump into the pool.
Right.
The more a child is standing on a diving board looking at the water, do you think that water looks scarier the more you look at it?
Right. Yes.
Or do
Yes.
you think it just looks more and more appealing? It's
Right.
like it's like the longer you stand there, the longer you stare, the longer you think, right? You could
Hmm.
read a book about it, consult 10 friends about it, check in with your mom. Wait, remember
Yeah.
the time that you dove about 6 years ago and oh yeah, it kind of hurt your stomach. Like, oh,
Yeah.
you know, it's it's only action cures fear, right?
Yes.
Only action cures fear. I learned this years ago, and if there's nothing like walking right up to the thing that is frightening for you, not physically, right? So
Right.
anything, mind your physical health, but
Yeah.
almost anything else is like, what's the emotion that we're not afraid of the thing, we're afraid of the emotion that's created and thinking we can't handle that emotion. But emotions are temporary, like anything else. And you know what it's like? Once a kid takes a leap, what do they want to do? Right? They want
Right.
to do it again, right? And then they want a higher board, and it's like a surfer. They start on small waves, then they want bigger waves. So if only action cures fear and confidence is a willingness to be uncomfortable, you don't have to be special. You don't have to be
Right.
brilliant. You don't have to be funny. You don't have to be good looking. You don't have to be educated. You can just be willing and then take lessons each day from the feedback that you're getting, like being curious, like entering your life with this sense of adventure versus everything's scary. No one likes me. I'm afraid to get out there. I don't know. The fear just compounds and compounds the longer we stare, right? We look and we think and think. I love
Yes.
to say underthink it as a mantra. Underthink it.
Yeah. 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 I call it like a bent for action. Like you just
Yes.
need to, you have to, if you have, the choice between plan more or take action, go with action because that's
Yes.
you're going to figure a lot out of in the action versus
Yes.
that paralysis that you're talking about that
Hmm.
happens when you just start to build up this scenario in your head. And talking about fear, one of the most fascinating things to me is, the research that they've done that people are actually more scared of public speaking than death, which is like that's like a really intense fear, but it's like because it builds and then they're afraid and then they don't do it and then it, like you just said, it builds and builds and builds. And
Mm.
it's that you're a room full of people looking at me that I could get my chances of rejection, like if I'm talking to a big audience, is 100%. Like there's going to be somebody out there that doesn't
Mhm.
like what I'm saying,
Yeah.
from a truth perspective,
Yeah.
but the willingness to put yourself out there over time, I don't
Hmm.
even think about that anymore. Where that was like my dominant thought when I
Yeah.
first had started to have to do public speaking. My dominant thought when I took the stage was like, what people are going to think about what I'm about to say. And now my dominant thought is, what value am I trying to give to people? And I
Mm.
literally don't think about the people that might not like that message, but that came from the repetition of the action, right? So I'm sure the same is
Yeah.
true for you. Like, how on your journey did things change in terms of you did it And over time, you were able to, because I don't think it's like the first time you do something, you're like, okay, I'm no longer going to be scared of rejection. That just poof,
Yeah.
it goes away.
Yeah.
But like, what were some of those activities for you that you did over time that all of a sudden let it be easy? It started to be easy just because you were doing it so often.
I tell you, there's nothing more hard, in my opinion, than engineering a small life, right?
Yeah.
I think when it comes to, let it be easy, some people think, doesn't that mean you just lie down? I'm like, no, because to me, to live a small life, to hold back, to know that I'm not fulfilling my potential, nothing feels more difficult than that. Like nothing,
Right.
and more scary. I speak a lot about regret proofing your life too. It's like, what can we do to maximize our temporary, precious life experience? And I love how you said, Amber, say you go out and speak to 100 people, and it used to be, oh, someone might not like it. Yeah. How about
Yeah,
you
they probably
expect,
won't.
how about you expect it? Say 100 people come see you speak, there's 100 different opinions,
Right.
right? That's out of your control, and will forever be.
Right.
So, and when you focus on value, you go from an identity driven kind of motive, like how am I perceived, to something bigger than you, right? Like how am I serving? How am I creating value? I think that when it comes to my journey, because I'm always thinking, expansion and what's
Right.
next.
What
And
more can they do? Yes.
yes, I
I
mean,
see that in you.
number one, like that desire is healthy, right? Like I think
Yeah.
it's God given. It's like, okay, great, next thing, next thing. I mean, I desire ends when life ends, right? There's always new
Right.
goals, new dreams. But I think, Amber, unless I'm uncomfortable to a degree, 100% of the time. So like every day, not just like the month in the year that I'm the busiest or whatever. But unless I'm kind of uncomfortable all the time, I know that I'm coasting.
Yeah.
Like I know that I'm just on kickback mode, and nothing wrong with that, right? Like
Yeah.
fine, if that's your choice, that's your story, cool. But I think, have we been given this opportunity to be safe, or to make sure that no one can make us feel uncomfortable, or to not actually claim what's ours, right? If you have a desire, if there's something that you want, the mechanics for its fulfillment is within you. It's just going to require something of you. That's why we admire people who excel at anything. We can even revere them. We can go, wow, this cool athlete, look what they did. It's because we know that that wasn't a series of wins, a series of nonstop success. It wasn't just a party. That person was willing to be uncomfortable a lot. And when we
Right.
can even admire that, and I think we do, this is why we celebrate success stories. It's because we know it's within us. We know it is, but so few of us are really willing to put ourselves in that emotional state of, look, I don't know what's going to happen. Like I don't there are no answers here, there are no guarantees, but the upside is always going to be worth it. The upside is always going to be, at the very worst, a great lesson, right? Great information. So
Yes.
that perspective for me allows me to feel pretty free, like just pretty. And I think also, if someone else has had success in any area, why not me? I'm a human being too, right? We're all here
Right.
on this earth together, right? We all come from the same creator. Well, she did it. Great news. Like, oh, I've got a bit of a guide already here, and yeah, I'm a human. I'm one of those. I'm a human being, so that means that's possible for us.
Yes.
So let's go.
I I agree. I love how you talked about, the goal isn't really to just fly under the radar and not be seen, right?
Hmm.
And then there is the comfort in that, but the sacrifice is that you don't make as big of an impact and a
Hmm.
lasting impact that you could have. And I
Hmm.
think sometimes people let the things about them that they're maybe not as comfortable with, or think that it limits them, but I find that those things are what allows your story to be specific to you and inspire the specific people that you were meant to inspire, right? Because we're all different, which means we all can
Hmm.
impact different kinds of people. And so knowing the impact you're trying to make, knowing what your calling is, I believe that's really key, because it what pulls you towards it. Like, how did you kind of discover what
Hmm.
your calling was going to be, or your bigger purpose, or what you wanted to, the impact you wanted to make? Like, how was that process for you?
I think it's something that unfolds, right? The more, because initially when you start out with anything, you have a goal, an intention, it's clear. And then once you, let's just say, accomplish that or you allow a lot of that in, then there's something else. And it
Right.
continues to unfold beautifully, but not too far ahead, right? Like your
Yeah.
intuition, it gives you like the next step each time. And
Yeah.
so we don't even know. Like, and in the future, there are so many possibilities, right? The future belongs to no one. Like what we can create, oh, we're powerful. It's so exciting. I think if I just trust the next nudge, if I'm willing to be uncomfortable today, to do what has to be done today, then
Right.
that's enough, right? Like me just
Right.
taking care of that, like that, maybe it's a text or an email or some type of social post, like whatever it is,
Yes.
then the next step will be revealed to me. I know that when it comes to purpose, I believe that we are all here to make each other's lives a little easier and a little
Right.
better, and we show up in different ways to perform that beautifully. Like that's why we all have different skills and different interests and passions. But I think when it comes to fulfilling like your entire life's purpose, it can feel kind of intimidating and we can question it, but we just have to trust the nudge now. Like
I
what's the
love
next,
that.
what's the right
Yes.
thing now? Like what's okay,
Yes.
so today what's within my power to do? Where can I feel uncomfortable? Where can I make my goal more important than my sensitivity? Where like
Mm-hmm.
what would someone who I would love to embody who really believes in themselves do? Right? Like I think it's a great thing to so for example, I interviewed once Sarah Blakely, who you may know, who's the founder of
Yes.
Spanx. Yeah.
Yes.
And
Love her.
yeah, and she was like started with $5,000 and no one took her seriously. And she was, she had a hard slog, right? Many,
Yeah.
many challenges. And she said her bounce back rate is just so good because her
Bounce back rate.
identity
I love
isn't,
that. Yeah.
yeah. So I think that actually that's a great goal. Rejection proof is like the dream, right? But I think what if you could just halve your bounce back, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if just say something
Recover
happened.
quicker. Like if it's
Yeah.
taking you 5
Mhm.
days to recover from rejection, can you go down to 4 and then eventually 3? Like
Yes.
eventually it's minutes, right? But
Yeah.
yes, I think that is makes it quantifiable for people to
Hmm.
have a goal to just be able to know themselves enough of what they can do
Yep.
to decrease that bounce back time.
Yes, Amber, for me, I used to have to wait until the next day. Like I would
Yes,
literally like it would have to be a fresh morning. I'd have to like have my routine and like prime myself for a good day. But that's not true anymore. Like that's
right.
not true anymore because my interpretation, my relationship with events is completely different. The way that I look at it. Say someone this happened recently. I wasn't selected for something and I recently interviewed you may know Jamie Kern Lima.
Yes, yes, I
Yeah.
saw that. Yes.
Yeah. Do you know what she said in her book? And I hope I'll quote it correctly, but paraphrasing, you'll get the gist. She said about rejection, one of her mantras is, they didn't reject me. God hid my value from them because they're not assigned to my destiny.
Mm,
Oh,
yes.
and I thought, wow, okay, so maybe that's actually not where I'm meant to be
Right. Right.
because there's something that is meant to be for me. And when we look back on our lives, hasn't that been true?
Totally. Yes. Right. Yeah. I think I actually just listened to her on a podcast this morning and she was
Yeah.
saying rejection is God's protection, right? That
Yes.
the gist of that. And I believe that to be
Hmm.
true, that there's always something greater working on behalf of where you need to be. And
Yes.
so that perspective is key. And then the ability to see it through that lens and it allows you to get back in that saddle quicker.
Yes, and the only way to fail, right, to the only way to ensure ongoing unwanted results is to stop, right?
Right.
That's in any situation. This applies to everything, right? The only way you can be sure that you won't make friends, I don't know, say you move to a new city, is to not make any effort ever again to make new friends. Like
Right.
that's the only way. Everything else is full of possibility. Like go to Pilates, go to the coffee shop, go here, go there, go to a meetup. I mean, there are always options. Sometimes I think when we feel stuck, we think there's only one way or maybe two ways. There's always at least three options. There's always more. And whenever you evaluate, you pause. This is what a good coach would do with you. They would just say, okay, what are your options in this situation? Then you feel powerful.
Yes, I love that. I always use this um 3-step process of like, okay, what is the situation? Like what I don't like?
happened. Well, what do I
Mhm.
actually want to happen? And then what is one step I can take to get closer to what I want happening, right? It's like, because there's
That's good.
always, there's always that option. And you might not be able to solve the whole thing. And I think that's a problem people sometimes have is like,
Mhm.
try to solve all of the world's problem. It's like, what one step can you take that gets you closer to what you actually want, that moves you out of the disappointment or the fear or whatever?
Yes, and then even that one step, like you know how an object in motion stays in motion,
Yes.
like you create some momentum, something happens. You know, Amber, last year I was speaking to a friend of mine and she lost her job, right?
Yeah.
She was pretty senior, she lost her job. It's not a fun place to be, right? I think we
Right.
can all relate in different ways to having a loss of that kind. And I was like, okay, what are your options right now? And she was like, well, I could update LinkedIn. I could. And I was like, give me a fun option. Like, give me something, let's feel
Something.
alive, you know? And she's like, well, two people who she used to work with have moved on to different companies. She's in New York. And I was like, she's like, I could reach out for a coffee. I'm like, great. Have a coffee with them. They're in a new energy. They're in a new company, and they've got that probably beginner vibe, happy vibe.
Right.
And she did, right? So she was like, okay, what do I say? I'm like, just say, do you want to have a coffee? Like, let's share some info, right? Underthink it, right? And she sent me a message and I've kept it. She said, having so much fun with these coffees, waiting energy sucks.
Oh, I love that.
Wait,
Waiting energy does suck.
waiting. And I mean, I feel like I'm Confucius, Aristotle. Guys, waiting energy sucks. It's not profound, but it's true, right? It's like
It's so
waiting,
true.
sitting
Nothing
around
feels
waiting,
worse. You feel
nothing.
so powerless and stuck. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah, it's like, please
take
choose
some
me.
action.
Like, please reach out to me. It's like, no, whatever it is, like, think of a fun option. Like, and it doesn't have to look like anybody else's, like you can do it your way. There are a million ways to get to the same destination.
I
Right. So,
love that.
what could be
That's great.
fun?
I'm going to
Yeah.
write that down. Waiting energy sucks.
Waiting energy sucks. And we know this, right? Even kids know it. When they're like
Right.
waiting, it's like, oh, waiting. It's like, if you're waiting with anticipation, that's one thing, but that's
Right.
not the waiting we're talking about when we're living in it. So
Right.
we know it.
Oh,
Action.
love that. This has been awesome. And I love just your perspective. I love everything that you've accomplished and how you're always just focused on giving value. So any kind of final advice, words of wisdom, that was a good one on this topic that you want to share.
I think one thing that brings me back to earth, if ever I get into a story or if I feel like my
Yes.
negative emotions compounding, is how powerful I really am when it comes to controlling my mind, right? We're often one thought, right? One belief upgrade away from a completely different experience.
Right.
Even if you're in a setting with people, say perhaps, because people, it's very easy to have social anxiety, for example. And if you're in a group of people and you're thinking, how do I look? How do I sound? It's so easy to be in that space. And I think, I could have one thought that could take me out of that. Like, oh, this one
Mm,
seems really interesting. I'd like to learn something from her. Or, how fun that these people have come together and I get to be here and I get to have a free afternoon. I mean, we are one thought away and you can't always choose your first thought, right?
yeah.
But you can choose your second thought,
And
right?
I love
So,
those examples because a lot of times it's about switching your thought out of the ego of what does this mean about me
mm,
to other people. Like in that example you just
yeah.
said, it's all about like the fears when you're focused on how am I going to be judged? What are going to people think? And as soon as you switch it to be kind of more observant of what value could I give here? Who could I, am lucky to be in this group of people, and you switch it
Yeah.
away from the meaning of you, it changes
Mhm.
the entire experience.
Oh, yes. And Amber, the best way to, I think, even eradicate our nerves is to help someone else who's nervous.
Yeah.
So I think that I think the most powerful thing, probably, if I could only remember one thing in my life, if I were born again, it would
Right.
be, it's up to you. Like, put it on the right track, focus on what you want and realize it's not about you, right? At the end of it all, it's not about us, but our contribution really, really matters. And we're supposed to enjoy it. We're supposed to have fun here. And we're allowed to have everything that we want.
I love that. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Let it be fabulous. All the good things.
Yes,
I agree.
exactly.
It's
Ah,
all there for the taking. So,
yes.
oh, well, thank you so much, Susie, for being here, guys. Check out Susie's podcast, Let It Be Easy. She has a ton of bite-size, topics that she covers that all are on that track of helping you implement these skills, do the mindset work. I really admire your mindset. And I know that that is something that you've put intentional work into, not something that just accidentally happened. So thank you for sharing those tips, sharing your journey, and all of your fabulousness with us today.
Amber, right back at you. Love you. Thank you. And until next time.
Yes, definitely.
Mwah.
Thank you. All right, guys. So next, if you liked this episode, definitely share it with a friend because I'm sure as you listen to this, you thought of somebody who could use this tip. So sharing is always caring. You can also make sure that you don't miss an episode by subscribing. And we're so thankful for you tuning in today.
That was Neora's Amber Olson Rourke talking with author and podcast host Susie Moore about how to lose your fear of rejection and use it as one of your greatest teachers. Be sure and join us for our next episode going live on March 19th as Neora's co-CEO Deborah Hayes explains how you can develop a habit of happiness. We hope you've enjoyed this episode, and if this is your first episode of Built to Win, we invite you to go back and listen to our story from the beginning. You can find us wherever you download your favorite podcasts, and while you're getting to know us, be sure to rate us and leave a review to let us know what you think of the show.